and welcome to the Music Challenge podcast. My name is Andrew, and I want to introduce you to my compadres. Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm excellent. How are you doing, Rob?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good.
Whoa. How you doing,
Jack,
Rob?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Yeah.
I'm doing great. Yeah,
Right
just
on.
chilling. Like Thanksgiving's over. We're hanging out, ready to.
Anyone been listening to anything cool?
What do we
Well-
got going? I got to do my
So I am now factually binging Lost in Space.
Oh,
I actually found all 3 seasons on
Wow.
on the Roku service.
nice.
no kidding.
First
And-
season's in black and white.
I actually do have.
What?
We've binged a couple things too. We should do this as a binge sesh because that seems like what everyone is doing these days.
Sure.
We watched The Boys straight through, which is
What's that all
fantastic.
about?
It's an old graphic novel. It's like if
Oh, I've heard of that.
it's so great. If like real life, if superheroes existed and like the capitalist sort of like venture that
Oh.
it creates around them and like
So,
it is
like the
just
original Watchmen kind of a deal?
sort of, but it's like it's
Okay.
different. It's like it's very, very like, like there's one company that like has basically conglomerated all of the superheroes into it, and so like they control everything.
Wow.
I didn't mean for it to get into this thing, Drew. Let's get back to Lost in Space. Quick rotation around.
That
I'm
sounds
sorry.
interesting, though.
I just realized I cut you off completely and want to get back to Lost
No,
in
I
Space.
was just having a drink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We need
Lost in
those.
Space. And
Are
it
you
also-
watching the old one or like the new remake?
I didn't even know there was a new one till Saturday.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
there is a new one?
Yeah, there's like a vamped version, modern version.
I've
by
wanted to watch
on
it for like
Netflix.
a few years, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like cool as opposed to the other one, which is one of the campiest things that's ever been.
Oh yeah, with like the
television.
robot with like the
unbelievable,
squiggly arms and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
swear that was a dryer vent.
Everything is HVAC,
Oh,
HVAC
yeah, they are.
tin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing just is, it's the dumbest thing you ever heard. It's like, why would you even build this?
I remember
who wants
watching
to-
Lost in Space on Saturday mornings. Like weird. It was such a weird.
The thing is, it's a big CBS budget show. I mean,
Right.
prime time, like, man, here's our futuristic new color science fiction show. And
Like space,
some money
What a
at it.
show it
picked it
was.
on a sound stage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but like it has like real ass, I'm surprised how well they're done. Like space scenes. It doesn't look like people being held by harnesses, even though I'm pretty
Right.
sure it is.
Well,
I
and they
couldn't tell.
probably had a real ass orchestra making music for that thing,
Exactly,
right?
the CBS
Right.
orchestra. So,
Yeah. Good
Which is
Lord.
pretty neat.
right.
yeah, it was it's interesting.
All
enough,
comes back to
anyway.
music, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
the soundtrack for Lost in Space is just amazing. So in any case, well,
We're just gonna talk about the soundtrack to
And
Lost
so
in Space.
what's our
That's
topic
what our
this week?
episode is all
actually,
about.
what we're gonna
folks.
do now.
That's not what we're
Let me
talking
remind
about.
let me remind everyone of what our social media type shit is. You'll want to email us at musicchallengepod at
People blowing us
Gmail.
up already.
yeah.
Somebody
oh my
just
god!
dropped
Somebody,
us a line.
okay, I want to read this out loud. Andrew, you are so hot. Um,
Hey, baby.
Any case, let me just email is musicchallengepod, spelled like it sounds, musicchallengepod at gmail.com. musicchallengepod@gmail.com. And you want to check out a lot of our posts or whatever, you can go to our Facebook page, just search Music Challenge Podcast, whatever, it'll pop up, and share a lot of music news on there, the occasional new episode announcement, but definitely nothing political, so don't bother looking or posting to me. So
Silly meme, perhaps.
yeah,
Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us what you want us to talk about.
yes.
Yeah, drop us
Absolutely.
like what you're listening to. If there's anything new that you're into, like I dig on new music, which is
Absolutely. and drop us your
Should
formative
start a
old
podcast.
or the formative, or like formative 4 stuff, formative 5, like.
Yeah, we
Right.
think we might be moving on with all topics, meaning full speed ahead. So we'll get back into that, but in a point in time. That's a production meeting on the air. We shouldn't have done that. But so in any case, what albums are we talking about tonight? Anyone want to tell everyone?
So yeah, I'll tell them. We are talking about great albums from our birth years.
Hell
So
yeah.
mine 1973, as well as Kevin's in 1973. Jed, you're
1980.
1980. My gosh.
70-10.
Yeah, right, 70 that number, and then
Base
Drew,
11.
Drew is like Drew's 1952. So
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, my first car was a 55 Chevy.
Drew, your birth year 71.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're gonna talk about great albums from those 3 years, and there's a ton of them, but we'll talk about 4 of them.
And which groups are we talking about?
I'm talking about Steely Dan, Countdown to Ecstasy.
Excellent.
And I'm going to talk about Future Days by Can.
All right, I'll talk about LA Woman by The Doors.
Excellent.
And Jed?
I am featuring Ace of Spades by Motörhead.
Hell yeah.
All right, there you got it. So, actually, Jed, why don't I punt it to you first?
Yeah,
And,
we're kicking this off, right?
That's
Yep.
right. That's right. All right. So, take it away, man.
Oh man, I don't really know too much like what to say about this other than like it's just kind of a nonstop like rocket ship that just like pummels you over and over again as you like.
It is an
move
assault.
forward. It's an assault. Like it's a great. I sort of fell into Motörhead when I was like figuring out punk music and like listening to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's
there.
got that.
But and that's kind of how I've always read it as. Like I know there's always they always have this kind of dichotomy of like or appreciation between like heavy metal people and punk people.
Right.
And I know like
Speed
Kevin,
metal,
you were a heavy metal.
Have we done anyone like that before?
Well, we talked about
suicidal tendencies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, suicide. Yeah, and that like
Earthless
it's like
and
very
Sabbath.
Yeah.
yes.
There's some crossover.
Yeah, I definitely think there's some. I think it's a British.
But when we're talking about the
separate
crossover
Sabbath.
between heavy metal and punk, that's exactly where we fall right there.
Right.
definitely.
Totally. And is it
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like
very
everything.
hardcore like punk based for me. Like that's how I read it. It sounds a little. It sounds different in the ear, but like if you break it down, you're listening to like what they're doing. Like it's
right.
It is very.
I actually think it sounds
very
pretty
punk
punk
heavy.
too.
It
does.
I've always thought that.
Yeah,
And yeah, I discovered it kind of, like obviously way late from when they were probably at their peak. But this album always was a terrific one from like, it's nonstop. And
absolutely. And I mean, come on, Ace of Spades, give me a break.
Yeah,
That song is
Did
like,
any of you guys used to watch The Young Ones? It was on on MTV,
Oh,
or
yeah.
I was
BBC
aware of it.
originally.
I didn't watch it as much, but
Well,
There's
there
crossover,
wasn't too many episodes. However, Motörhead played Ace of Spades on one of them.
If you like to gamble, I tell you I'm your man. You win some, lose some, it's all the same to me. The pleasure is to blame. Ain't no difference what you say. I don't say green.
so yeah. So this album, it's funny. I actually. It depends if it's still sitting in my parents' closet, but if it is, I bought this album on vinyl when I was a young metalhead.
Wow.
This, and I think I had the 1986 album Orgasmatron by Motorhead as well.
If you
And
somehow come across
Yeah.
that, and I know you're not a vinyl guy, I'll buy
know.
that freaking Motorhead from you, dude.
So yeah, to me, the two songs on this album, like first of all, just going back a little bit, the things that people just I want to point out about Lemmy is that first of all, he was a roadie for Jimi Hendrix.
Who's Lemmy?
Okay.
Oh, that's right. He was.
Lemmy Kilmister is the lead singer of Motorhead, and Motorhead originated when Lemmy, who was a member of Hawkwind,
Correct.
with Nick Turner. Lemmy got busted at the Canadian border smuggling drugs across, and
Right.
Nick Turner just fired him. And so Lemmy started Motorhead with a couple other dudes. And the thing
Like-minded dudes, yeah.
like-minded dudes. And when Lemmy was working for Jimi Hendrix, he'd already done a lot of acid by that time, and he said it opened his mind up. And
I agree.
but he also, when he was a young man, he watched the love of his life die of heroin. Yeah. And so the thing about Lemmy, the thing about this music, when you really break it down, I mean, it's incredible. It's really simple rock and roll fueled
Totally.
by amphetamines, basically.
Yes.
Like
That's what it seems like.
It's speed
Sure.
freak
Sounds
music.
like
Yeah,
speed.
Lemmy was a speed freak who drank Jack and Cokes. I mean,
Right.
and he was like the guy that I was too scared as a young metalhead. Like the people that would have taken me to concerts that would have had to drive me were like, Motorhead's where I draw the line. I don't
We
want to
don't
get
go to
beat up.
That ain't happening.
That crowd was just a
14-year-old
little
kid.
too rough, right? Like that, I couldn't find someone to bring me to a Motorhead show. I saw Judas Priest. I saw
That's pretty
Ozzy. I
rough.
saw I saw Metallica, and there would be no Metallica without Motorhead. But Motorhead was the OG, like speed freak, like
Yep.
gnarly, kind of ugly metal band that was
Yes.
fueled by speed. And
Not
like
pretty,
Andrew mentioned, the intersection of punk, it's fast, it's raw, it's really basic. I mean, Lemmy called it a rock and roll band. And in that way, like there's punk and there's grunge, and there's all of those metal bands owe a lot of what they did to this guy.
I know. I know Cobain has referenced Motorhead on multiple occasions too. I mean, these are, and that's that. I think that's what Kevin's getting at is like it was some formative stuff, and we wouldn't have some stuff if it wasn't for him. Lemmy was a freaking character, man. Like like Kevin said, they were not like
Yeah,
they
he
weren't
lived his own
good-looking.
life.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
the
he
whole
was-
point about
every-
Lemmy is he didn't give a shit about
Everything
no.
everything about him
Zero
and that band
fucks
are like
given.
completely unapologetic. Like, we are
Right.
going to do this. We don't give a fuck what you
well,
think about it.
pretty much it's how you imagine living your best life, isn't it? Just like, hey,
Totally.
I'm gonna do this, and I really don't care what anyone thinks.
Talking
He,
about
um,
living
For
like a
20
rock star.
albums. Yeah,
40
totally.
years, dude. 40 years of the Motorhead formula coming right at you.
Right.
So
He was an incredibly influential musician. I mean, all these bands, like I said, they owe their roots to him. And the other song I got to point out on this album that can't go without mention is "We Are the Road Crew," and that song is a monster. It really is. It anchors that second half of that album, and it's brilliant. That song is just pure Motorhead right there.
Another town, another place, another girl, another face, another truck, another race. I'm eating junk, feeling bad. Another night, I'm going mad. My woman's leaving, I feel sad. But I just love the life I lead. Another beer is what I need. Another gig, my ears bleed. We are the road crew. Another town I've left behind. Another drink, completely blind. Another hotel I can't find. Another backstage bus for you. Another tube of super glue. Another border to get through. I'm driving like a maniac.
The ode to their band or their road crew, and like all the people that helped them put on the live shows. I don't know.
Dude, that
Great
little
song.
nugget
I
about
think it's a song I really liked on there. However, I can't find the track list right now. But I mean,
Sixth.
it seemed to have some sort of choral type of device to it. Sorry,
Well, and
can't place it. Can't find a fucking track list. So go ahead now.
but Lemmy was a complicated guy. You know, he collected Nazi memorabilia, for example.
Yes, he
so,
did,
You know,
didn't
and
he?
he took some shit for it, rightfully so. I guess in retrospect,
Kind
you know,
of.
back in the '90s. But yeah, like
I mean, it
it
depends
was,
what he was in it for, I guess. You know.
well, and that's the thing, is that he was like just kind of like trying to say he was just collecting it and wasn't like a fan of it or anything like that. He was just collecting like war memorabilia. But I think he was, like I said, you know, kind of a controversial guy that, you know, that I think echoing what you guys had said, just kind of lived life by his own rules in his own way, and like a rock star, you know,
Totally.
fast and
Yes.
hard, and like the music, right? Like
Right.
some of the songs I had to, you know, as a father of a daughter, I had to fast forward through Jailbait, to be honest
It
with you.
is
very-
really
it's
did.
like-
Most of them
was
tell you
pretty
the
Super
truth.
cringe.
gross.
Like there's a lot of cringe when you listen to
The
it.
chase is better than the catch. That's a
Yeah.
high class one.
Yeah, couple of those there are some cringeworthy stuff on here, and I think if you like this though, the real chestnut of an album to like this should be a springboard to is No Remorse, which is kind of a live greatest hits, you know, best of full compilation thing, and that to me would be the next logical point to go after this. But this is a great starting point, Chad. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. Love it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's like it had been a little while, but it was fun to like dive back in and explore it a little again.
Yeah, everyone out there, go do some homework on Lemmy. Pretty amazing rock and roller to
For
the
sure.
truest sense of the term.
But like Kevin, we're passing it to you, right?
Right on.
Yeah.
And what are you featuring tonight?
So I'm featuring an album for my birth year, and you know, sticking with the name of this podcast, I challenged myself musically to listen
Good
to future
job,
dates.
Kevin.
I can, right? Because 1973, you know, as I'm sure Rob found out, was full of easy and great choices, right? And
Without
we sit here
question.
and talk about Dark Side of the Moon or
Right.
Houses of the Holy, or
Right.
even Intervisions, which is what I was kicking around as my other
Oh,
choice. But
absolutely. And Marvin Gaye released a record in '73, did he not?
Holla.
Correct?
I think so. I mean, it was a rich and bountiful year of releases, and so what made this one pop out to me was the fact that a lot of bands that I listened to and like seemingly were influenced by this group, and
No, and you can hear it. I mean,
right. And so I guess some of the bands that I think of that kind of come to mind are a lot of that like early 90s kind of indie-ish thing with like Sonic Youth and Yo La Tengo and Pavement and bands like that.
sure.
For whatever reason, like I think this was the band that kind of opened the minds to all of that stuff. And you know, so 1973, you know, there was a lot of prog rock. You have to think about bands like Yes and
Yes.
Rush, you know,
I
the
got Yes
context
out
of
of
the
it.
time, right? So
I got some yes out of it. Yes, I did.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can definitely draw. I definitely drew, like listen to it kind of in that like almost uncomfortable prog rock
Right.
scenario.
it's without
at
any pomp and
times.
circumstance. That's the
Right.
thing
Yeah.
about this album that made it so different is the lack of structure and that lack of pomp and circumstance. But to me, the thing that really stuck out to me upon multiple listens was the drumming. And it
Unbelievable,
felt
dude.
like a hi-hat clinic to me. Like throughout all of these jams. And I think what was different about the way that they made this album, and at least a little bit that I read about this, and I don't know a ton about this band, to be honest with you. Like I said, it was one of those albums that was hugely influential later on, and it was, you know, on the list of really, really popular and important albums released this year. So I felt like it was a
Right.
great mix and challenging me musically. The techniques used were, you know, like taping the jam sessions together, basically, and
Right.
you know, the highlight
Yes,
of
they
that,
were.
right? And so that's the bass player.
What's that?
Would
The bass
splice these
player-
tapes? Is that the case?
Yeah, the bass player was kind of the artist of this whole thing that kind of worked all these pieces together.
Got you.
And created these little suites of music that, you know, when you get, but I think this album should only be experienced on headphones. I think the atmospheric qualities of it will, much gets lost.
It was a game changer for me. Like, I listened to it once in the car for a little while. I was taking a short trip and I started it and I was like, oh, I can't even get into this right now.
Right.
And then I still had it on.
Exactly.
I was dropping the like garbage off on our trip this weekend, and I get back, we're loading up the car, and like I turn the car on, like everyone's loaded up, and it comes back on, and it's fucking blasting, and like Ann turns to me, and she's like, "What the fuck is this?"
That's funny.
I was like, "Yeah, it's an assignment. Like I don't know anything about this band, but it's kind of actually really cool and weird."
I think.
But, yeah, I was kind of blown away at like all of the. It sounds like chaos a little bit here and there. And then you realize that, like, right as we were talking about the prog rock kind of connection, it is without that pomp and circumstance. And I think without the, like, writing every note down and having, like, control
Or any of them.
everything. Or any of them. Because it's,
Right.
I mean, it's straight up jams, right? I mean, like, most of it feels.
Well, a lot of how, if you let me expand a second on krautrock in its own right.
Please.
There were a decent amount of communes in Germany in the late 60s, and some of them were based on youth who were rejecting Nazi ideologies, which still existed in Germany. There was plenty of Nazis
Sympathizers
who just sank back into the German society.
Sure.
And the government, you can't change a government overnight, and so there was still kind of these ideologies living within institutions.
Sure.
Any case, and so there's kind of a counterculture in Germany, who are rejecting all of this, and they were rejecting all of the worshipping of Nazi sites there, whatever. But there's another real popular krautrock band called Amon Duel, and the way Amon Duel 2 actually. And the way they kind of came about is like these were jams of people in the commune just bringing their shit down to the tent, or whatever. Or like, it wasn't necessarily a band. The commune was a band. And
okay.
And
so it was by like committee or something.
Community, I guess.
Okay.
And I kind of get that. I mean, to make a very psychedelic freaking sound, obviously. And I feel that all over Can is kind of where I'm at with that. So,
these were full on hippies, right? Like the long haired freaks.
Yes.
And I think the thing that,
emulating.
Right. And to me, what I read, it was that, they had this kind of trio of albums from 71, 72, 73. And this was the third of them, and this one I think was the most far out of the three. And the one that the singer Damo Suzuki, he was part of these three albums, and he was less featured in this one because this is mostly instrumental. There's very few vocals on this one.
Right.
Yeah, and I was originally introduced to this band through a cover of the previous album. I think Steve Malkmus, the lead singer of Pavement, had put together a band and covered their previous album. And I listened to it once, and it's out there. That's the thing. It's not really intentionally accessible music, but I think with headphones,
I think the third song was. I think Moonshaker. I think that one sounded radio ready to me.
kind of a little pop song, like a departure.
It was like a 4-minute
like
song.
A break. Yeah. If that. Short and it's got
short but intense. Good. It's a good song. So
yeah, the drum work on this album is amazing, and it was it's like a fun meditative listen. Just the rhythm, the drumming is just compelling. I don't know, I love it.
I was blown away by how modern it sounded. I mean, I kept like saying to myself, I can't believe this is 1973. You know, and the synthesizer use was like, it just reminded me of so many different things. When I first heard it, it reminded. Are you guys familiar with a band called Air?
Yeah, from France.
Yeah, it reminded me.
I'm from France.
It reminded me a bit of them, but then of course, like all the common players, new wave and in through Radiohead, for Christ's sakes. I mean, it's all, and there's no way those bands weren't influenced by this. At least the sound.
Yeah. Right? Like this is like the OG like kind of indie rock, if you will. Like for, even Zappa, like if you
Zappa's an influence of these guys, yeah, for sure.
Like even Zappa, though, Zappa has a lot more structure going on in his music. This is kind of further out there and a little less.
It's further out there for sure, but there's tons of Zappa without structure.
Kevin, are you familiar with the Books?
Do you know Books? No,
the Books. They were. I saw them like, I guess it was probably like early aughts, maybe 01, 02, like tiny room. Maybe it might have been at like Spy Bar or something like that. And it's like these people are playing set. I think it's two folks that are playing. I didn't even think about it until right now, but it like has so much relationship to this. Like I'm sure they were just like diving headfirst into Can.
Okay.
But yeah, it's wild. Like they're playing keyboards and like recordings on like little Walkmans and like rewinding and like there's like all sorts of layering and like
it's kind of amazing how little, like at one point in time I'm listening and it's probably about 15-16 minutes into Bel Air and there's a raging guitar solo going on, but it's like the fifth loudest thing in the mix. There's drums and keyboard and bass that are so much louder, and it's like, and there are these crescendos where you think it's going to go one way and it goes completely the opposite, just in a way that you think about. It just kind of blows your mind. And if an album that sounded exactly like this were released today, nobody would think twice of it.
Not at all.
Because that album was released, could music like this even exist today?
Right.
I think it's that important.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, Bel Air for me was when I took the dog for a walk and would like put the headphones on and listen through. And like there are ups and downs. I find Future Days to be like a little bit like, I gotta work through this. But by the time I'm in Bel Air, like I'm just buzzing through, and then like the record's starting over again because you're like you hit it at the right moment, and it just sort of there's a flow to it in like all of the chaotic craziness of it.
About 4 different pieces.
Yeah, it's 4
together, right? And
I kind of dug them all, to tell you the truth.
Like, yeah,
it's 4.
I mean, for me, it was like a perfect walk. I just kind of timed my walk to take exactly.
Yeah, it was a perfect walk.
Right. These were all of our albums were almost exactly the same length. So I think even Motörhead might have came in at 49 minutes.
Yeah.
Which surprised the hell out of me. I thought that album was going to be about 25 minutes long. So that's about how much time I set out for it.
Was that when we did Suicidal Tendencies? Wasn't that the case?
Yeah.
It was like,
I was like, I didn't know you could release a 29-minute album.
Yeah. I didn't. I was actually surprised at the length of that too. Well, yeah, this is a great pick. I was stoked to like be exposed to this because I have never heard of these guys before.
Nor have I. I was blown away.
Yeah, I appreciate you advocating hard for this, Andrew. Like I said, I was tossed up between this and Intervisions because I think that's also an incredibly influential.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe we'll figure out a reason to talk about that some other time.
Wouldn't be
Sure.
hard.
No, I think that's what we're up to here. So, all right. Well, why don't we take a break here on the Music Challenge podcast? Kevin, what would you like to? Well, there's 4 albums on the thing. We've already mentioned one song. What would you like to go out on?
Probably go with Moonshake, the 3rd track.
There we go.
Yeah, that's
Some
good.
good
No,
drums.
actually, we already mentioned Moonshake. Can we try another one?
Or how about Spray? I'm sorry, Spray. That the 2nd track. That's
All
I
right.
really like the drums in that one. Yeah.
All right.
Spray.
We will go with Spray on the way out by Can. And we'll check you out after the break on the Music Challenge podcast. See you later, guys.
See you in a bit, guys.
Bye.
And check you out soon. Bye.
Remember, everyone, we want you to submit your formative 4. Tell us the musical seeds that set you on your path, and we might review one of your albums right here on the air. You can get on our blog at musicchallenge.fireside.fm or email us at musicchallengepod@gmail.com. Also, you can slip into our DMs at musicchallengepod on Instagram.
Come as close to 4 as you can, but if you need more or less, that's all right too. Remember, musicchallengepod@gmail.com, and you could hear us discuss one of your albums.
And welcome back to the Music Challenge podcast. My name is Andrew, and I'm here with Kevin, Jed, and Rob.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
What's up? And we're here to check out. We're doing albums of our birth year this week, and I was born in 1971. So the album I chose, which was not the #1 chart busting thing out there, was The Doors' "L.A. Woman," which was the 6th and last album with Jim Morrison from The Doors.
So, and that's interesting you say that, because I didn't know that. I didn't realize this was the last album with Morrison. But anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he died not too long afterwards.
Got it.
But I don't know. I just chose this album because, frankly, the Partridge Family was #7 in the year that I was born. So it was a really transitional, weird, strange time.
The Doors #9.
Doors were like 17 or something like that.
Oh, I thought they got. I don't know.
No, there was, whatever. There was like Engelbert Humperdinck was above them, whatever. I mean, you got to understand.
Neil
This was
Sedaka,
still a time
maybe?
when pop music was just like that.
Right.
Was Engelbert Humperdinck, Neil Sedaka, these dudes in tuxedos, crooners, and Tom Jones.
What's new, pussycat? Whoa.
Whoa. All right. The hell was I talking about?
So you were talking about the crooners.
No, we were done talking about the crooners.
No, yeah.
In any case,
Sure.
so I think this album is interesting for a few reasons. It's way bluesy for
Absolutely.
So it's a blues album. Like
quite a bit of it. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and a lot of that is a vehicle for Jim Morrison's voice. You know?
Totally. I mean, and on the third track, Been Down So Long, like, which is just where it really starts heavy blues, obviously. His voice is just ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy.
It's pretty strong.
Yeah, it's
pretty strong.
It's amazing.
For sure. There's also in that song, Been Down So Long, a lot of good slide guitar work.
Which I was, it's interesting because that's not something you're used to hearing. You know what I'm saying?
Not from Robbie Krieger, no. Right. But you know, there it was.
And back to what we came in with. Do we mention this? The Changeling, the keys in that damn song. Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah. That's why we're coming in with it, because like Ray Manzarek's crazy organ going on. But I mean, I even wrote down for Lover Madly that, like, the organ was sounding like Yes to me, for God's sakes. I mean, it had this total fucking circus effect going on when when they're really, really hitting their stride.
Totally.
But Yes had been out for a couple of years at that point, so I have no idea if there's a crossover.
It's wild. Didn't they get didn't their producer or someone like fire them over Loving Madly, like calling it
a sellout?
I don't know, it was like some sort of silly elevator music or something. Like,
well, but I have no idea.
But he always,
I don't know. Those are.
I mean,
those are the.
I'm sorry.
Those classics are the ones that I was like, all right, I know this song. Let's get through like the stuff that you hear like every day on XRT to like.
The thing is, I don't listen to XRT, so
I don't either.
I try and listen to the songs like I've never heard them before. You know,
and that's that's how I really felt like I was listening to it for the first time, and like I wasn't, like I had a Doors phase, and but it didn't stick really, and so like getting to listen to it this time like kind of blew my mind. It was like,
it's a great record.
Yeah, and
it's pretty good record. Yeah, I would say so. I'm not Mr. Doors, so I couldn't tell you.
That's how I feel about it. Like, but
it's got goddamn Riders on the Storm.
That
really great.
That's
Riders on the Storm.
That's
is freaking incredible.
Stuck out to me. I mean, that's just Ray Manzarek going the fuck off.
Right. It's so
and then the rain, like the rain.
Crazy.
I mean, it's perfect. That to me is my favorite song on the album. LA Woman's a good song.
Which song?
Riders on the Storm is probably my favorite.
Oh yeah,
LA Woman. I'm kind of on Jim Morrison, to be honest with you. I have Val Kilmer to thank for that.
Right.
And I think the three of us are
like
at the
Val
age
Kilmer,
where, the Doors was jammed down our throats with Prejudice, and it as the psychedelic band to the point where I think
psychedelic.
Well, the end and all that stuff.
Absolutely,
for sure. I mean,
and Riders on the
Storm.
Storm.
To what else I was listening to?
No, and that's the thing is, I probably like in high school that was kind of like, to me that was the psychedelic band in high school, when I think once you get out of your hometown and kind of open up your musical horizons, you realize there's other music outside of the Doors, and you graduate from that pretty quickly. But I can still appreciate this for the work that it was, and there's some really good music on this album. There really is. Like I said,
for sure.
Riders.
And opposed to what I just said, I did not find it very psychedelic then compared to everything else I was listening to. However, when I said I listened to it like I listened to it for the first time, I did find a lot of psychedelia, even in Lover Madly. I mean, almost a regurgitated 60s psychedelia. I say regurgitated because it's 1971 and the landscape was kind of shifting a little bit towards the singer-songwriter.
Back to that crooner thing, right?
Right. The crooners, back to that type of thing. And, part of it was because like the groups of the 60s were changing too. I mean, the Grateful Dead that 60s band was dead by 1971. And gratefully dead, if you don't mind. And I know. I'll be playing here all week. But in any case, I think the best piece of spoken word on here for me, if I have one, was and this was an album that I went through college with, of all the Doors albums. This isn't my favorite song, but it's favorite, Jim Morrison vehicle is The Wasp.
I want to tell you about Texas radio and the Big beat. Comes out of the Virginia swamps, cool and slow with money and precision. And the backbeat narrow and hard to master. Some call it heavyweight.
Texas radio and the Big beat.
Right.
It's kind of strong, commanding, and tribal. I love the phrase "stoned immaculate." Right. I spent many a late night hanging out to that, but I think really bearing the lead is "L.A. Woman," which frankly is how I like my Doors.
Sure.
I mean, it's smooth. It's silky. You could tell they knew it was going to be a number one hit. They got, full staff of studio musicians. And because there is no bass player in the Doors, right, but there is a bass player on this album. And especially on Riders on the Storm, where, they sound like they're keeping it together more than, they're earning the salary is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
It's like keeping the Doors on beat.
Keeping it reined in.
Yeah.
Keep putting the lasso around the rest of them.
I'm certainly had a studio musician came in and was just kind of like, all right, boys, hold together.
Right.
And Kruger has a number of parts. That where it kind of flies a bit.
As opposed to Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Robbie Krueger.
Freddy Krueger with those long ass arms.
It's an amazing song. It
That would
really
be
is.
fingernails.
It's amazing solo.
It really is. And then of course, you got to mention the Morrison lyrics, which are yabba dabba deeba dabba deeba no. Those aren't quite enunciated as well as you'd like.
Wasn't quite sure what to say.
But yeah, but Ray Manzarek, man, again, just like, I mean, he's in full command. I mean, I feel like maybe this is a Ray Manzarek album in a way, because I mean, he's just in full command of the entire song. This is a big song. I mean, this is, kind of I mean, they knew it was going to be a hit, I'm sure, when they, put it down, and they wanted to get it just fucking right. And I think they did, unbelievably. Because by the sixth and last album, I'm kind of expecting this to be pretty rough and loose by this point. You know what I mean? Because, they've been through their cycle, it's been 6 albums.
They're trying to get back up there.
Right. And it doesn't sound like Jim Morrison is quite up to the task on every single track on here. That's just my opinion. However, I think he is on some tracks, but on other ones, he's not.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like LA Woman might actually be one of those tracks because, like, his DB. I mean, it's a lot of people can do that.
Yeah, I think most of the Doors music sounds dated. It sounds like a product of the 60s. And there's a couple songs on here that actually don't. And I think they kind of carry over, LA Woman being one of them, and maybe Riders on the Storm. That you could slip them into a modern playlist and, and still, like, it fits, right? The sound,
it would fit in, yeah.
And I think, like you said, Andrew, like there's some kind of probably skippable songs on this album. There's some really good ones too, right?
Yeah.
And it's uneven, like the Doors were. They were an uneven band, right? So
right.
Yeah. Unpredictable, not consistent, but, not totally consistent.
There really are some shining spots, right? The Ray Manzarek stuff is worth it alone.
The Ray Manzarek stuff is amazing, and I even have written right here on For Riders on the Storm is like, the instrumental part is very fucking trippy, and is that in itself is worth the song's time to listen to
for sure.
Because like I kind of closed my eyes to it and realized, oh shit, I just closed my eyes for 4 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I guess that goes in the books as being worth it.
Yeah. There were moments on here where they shined without Jim Morrison, and I think that was pretty cool if you think about it, right?
Yes,
sure.
There's parts of it where I could have done without the Morrison.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's other parts where it's all because of Morrison, which is cool. I mean, it's what they scrapped together for the sixth album. I'm not saying it's the worst album in the world. I'm not saying it's the best either, because I'm not really a Doors freak, even though I like the Doors.
I kept having the Crawling King Snake kept ringing in my ears. And I'm like, why do I remember like really, really enjoying that song. And it's a John Lee Hooker song.
Yep.
Which is like why I was like connecting it and was like, that was like the gem for me when I was re-listening to this, other than Riders and the other, other few. L'America too, I enjoyed as a separate thing. I don't know. I enjoyed re-listening.
Kind of sound like Pink Floyd a little bit.
Yeah, it was like it had this kind of cool flow to it. I think half of the Doors is like where you're listening to it, or what experience you're in at the time, because.
A little bit, but you like to be able to judge it aside of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I can't fucking grab heroin every time I want to listen to an album.
No.
As much as I'd love to.
You can't?
Well, I can, but I shouldn't.
Right.
I'd be listening to the Velvet Underground if I was doing that, I think.
Hells yeah.
There's 2.0.
Well, you got to spread out. So, in any case, I guess that's about what I got to say about the Doors. Once again, I think LA Woman is the standout on the album, and The Changeling is it's a great Ray Manzarek crazy organ solo. Absolutely. I heard a little bit of Yes in here, heard some spoken word. Riders on the Storm, check it out. So I'll pass it on to Rob.
So my record is Steely Dan, Countdown to Ecstasy. 1973 again, as Kevin
in the year of Rob's birth.
Right. And not my favorite Steely Dan album, but I like it a lot. And needless to say,
What are you doing, dude?
I don't know if that sophomore slump thing is real, but this is kind of one of those proofs that it's not. This is her second record. I think it's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
So
I think it's pretty damn good too.
in Steely Dan to me, like, I don't know. I guess it caught me late, um, 20s, and then I realized
Sure.
how amazing it was, and then dove in. But
It's pretty sophisticated.
It-
I mean, it's not something that most people catch on to in high school.
Yeah, no, not at all.
In the production of it, it's just so refined and beautiful. This album
Yes.
So silky.
has
That's what they're known for.
those fantastic harmonies too, and it's just like odd but on key vocals, almost snarky at times. I love it. I
This
freaking love it.
album, this album is fantastic. And what I was like, what I didn't realize, I don't know. I thought I was certain at the time that Michael McDonald was singing backup vocals on King of the World on this, and it turns out he's not. But the bootlegs,
Yeah, that was
but here's
that was before they didn't use him till a couple albums
the
later,
ensuing
right?
tour actually, like
Okay,
because the
no
bootlegs
shit.
from March of '74. This album was recorded in 1973, and then they toured in '74. And Skunk Baxter apparently left to join the Doobie Brothers.
Right.
Because Steely Dan wasn't going
Right.
to tour, and then so
big
Skunk
changeling.
Baxter bailed, and then once Dan quit touring, Michael McDonald joined the Doobie Brothers. But
Skunk Baxter was
yeah,
their
there are
guitarist on
bootlegs
this
from
album.
March of '74.
Well, one of them.
Michael McDonald singing background vocals. YouTube.
Ooh, I have not found those.
YouTube. Yeah.
Right on.
March of
Right on.
'74. There's a really good one from LA, maybe the Record Plant. I want to say it's about a 100-minute show that's Michael McDonald singing the backup vocals on King of the World, and that's the thing that's kind of right.
Kidding.
Like it's imprinted in my brain. This bootleg has it. It's fantastic. You could probably post a link to it, Andrew. I'll send it to you. But the
Production
it's
meeting
all right.
on air.
I'll do it now. Not a big deal. But the album. What'd you love about it, Rob?
I mean, the second half of this record is insane. I shouldn't even say the second half. From 4 Down is just so game changing. And again, listen to this one on headphones. You got to, folks, because it just brings that last little bit of production out that just blows me away, man. I mean, and this is their second record. So at this point, they had it sorted out, right? And it was just like a revolving door of studio musicians, right? Playing for Walter Becker and Donald Fagen, just like, yeah, bring this guy in.
Yeah,
We want this guy's guitar sound. And
Exactly. They basically were known for bringing in motherfuckers, studio musicians in LA.
Right.
And it was the scene where like someone would come and set up all the instruments before the musician arrived. Like, okay, we're practicing in this space.
Right.
And and like someone would come and set everything up. And then, like it was a custom deluxe LA type fucking thing.
I bet you they
they didn't do that in New York.
I bet you they didn't do any cocaine during that time either.
Oh no, no! They had all that extra time. I'm sure they spent it studying
They're
music
just in like rolled up $100 bills.
Exactly.
at the very least.
There was none of that
Some
going
of the
on.
greatest
But,
yacht rock of all time, right?
Oh, it's amazing. I was lucky enough to get tickets to see Steely Dan at the Chicago Theater in one of those like sweet ass boxes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've been there.
And they were doing entire records, and there was like 3. They played 3 different nights, and there was 3 records, which is just so
I know what you mean.
I remember that. Yeah.
unbelievable to me. And it's so cool. But I went and saw Asia, which is my favorite record. Not to get off subject, but we're talking about Dan and
Wayne Shorter on there.
dude. I mean, the musicians they hired are just ridiculous. The backing vocals, unbelievable. But to see that played in front of me live was just mind blowing. I mean, mind blowing. They're an amazing band, an amazing band.
Yeah, they're
group
one
of
that
guys.
I would truly love to see. I have like a really like love-hate relationship with Steely Dan, which I think a lot of people
Sure.
do, or at least like people who come
Hate?
to it late. Um, and I
Love
think it's one of
late.
those. I think it's one of those. You have to just like warm up to them a little
Totally.
bit. You know, like
It-
they're like a slow introduction
It
kind of
is.
band,
It's
like
a
like a
slower-
Fish, or you know, yeah. You have to sort of like
It's an acquired taste.
Totally.
it is an acquired taste, and
It's like
I
bourbon.
I worked
There you go.
I worked for a chef who was an old like a fish head chef, and we would spend a lot of time together like just in the mornings with just us because there was no fish or
cooked fish
Steely
heads.
Dan allowed like played during the rest of the day.
Oh,
Except when like it was just the two of us hanging
Right,
out.
right.
So like a lot of Steely Dan was played, and that was where like I really like learned to sort of love them and appreciate just from like
it's an amazing body.
I
of
mean, they
music,
kind
really.
of and they shred.
Oh,
Like,
they
they're
do.
just,
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
they're
There's
just
no doubt.
incredible musicians.
Skunk Baxter shreds, and then Walter's got his moments too.
Totally.
Walter Beckham,
He could
who's
play.
really
He played too. When I saw him live, it was spots, obviously little spots that but he ripped.
yeah.
And the guy he
Unfortunately,
hires absolutely rips. You know what I'm saying? It
right.
was pretty cool.
Walter's no longer with us.
Right. Yes, you're right. The late Walter
Yeah.
Becker.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, like probably my introduction, and I swear you were one of the players, Drew. And this is when we were all going to see Fish and stuff like that. People talking about Steely Dan. Jay Cooey was another one that just kind of drilled it into me, and it caught me. Maybe I shouldn't have said his last name.
Do you remember? Percy Hill?
I'll bleep it out.
Rob,
Oh,
right?
dude,
Like,
and that's something I was
Oh, I
going to
do,
mention.
yeah.
right, like
They
I
always
mean, that's
sounded
the
like
thing.
Steely Dan.
Absolutely.
That
For
album
sure.
that they made, the whole reason it was so good is because it was like Steely Dan was coming out and making
Steely
another
Dan.
album, right? Like,
Right.
and
Color and Blue.
Color and Bloom.
Check
good
it out,
call. Yeah,
folks.
it's like the greatest jam band album ever made. There's no other. It's that and nothing else for jam band albums, studio albums. It's that
It's
good,
pretty
yeah.
great.
But it's
Percy Hill is the
Yeah.
name of the band, and it's called Color in Bloom.
one version of that album, and the thing about well,
Are you sure about that? That's the best jam band
I put it
album
up.
ever.
Yeah,
It's the best
What else you got?
studio.
Best studio album. What else?
I know.
You
I'm
got?
like trying to like.
I don't have to come up with anything now. I don't have
No,
to come
you
up with
don't.
anything now.
Yeah,
It's just a bold statement.
I've
That's all.
given it
It's-
thought. Trust me.
It's that
No,
prolific.
It's,
It's that prolific.
I've given it.
Yeah, I'm not going to trust
Ooh.
you, but if you want to say it, that's cool.
Episode.
There we go.
Episode challenge.
I think we have it.
See it
Yeah,
coming.
We've thrown the gauntlet down. But
No.
but
I'm just
really-
asking.
yeah, it's that good. I can't tell you enough.
I
it's
do- in
just
fact,
like-
We should do an episode. Kevin stands with this, and we each have to bring a different album that challenges best jam band ever.
best jam band studio.
I don't know if
album.
I can.
That'll
I
totally
don't know
hit
if I can
all
That's
of
do
an
it
them.
eyebrow
because I
raiser.
have a soft
Yeah.
spot.
Oh, you're the same.
I have
Okay.
a soft spot in my heart for Percy Hill, Color and Bloom. It is an amazing
Maybe all of us.
album,
Maybe it'll just be all of us coming back to that one album.
right? No doubt. You guys are going to be like, God damn, that
Yeah,
album's great.
I wasn't playing it out in my head. I was just asking,
Sorry.
no.
We're all about plans.
So wow, we went out there. But anyways, Steely Dan, Countdown to Ecstasy, amazing, and my birth year.
So it's like Bodhisattva. That's obviously a song on there that
Oh,
I'd say if you don't like Bodhisattva, then
You're not gonna like
don't worry about
Dan,
Steely Dan.
right?
No, you're not gonna.
I disagree because I don't like Bodhisattva, but I
love
like a
that.
lot of Steely Dan.
Did any of you listen to the intro to the Citizen
I still
Steely
stand
Dan
by it.
Bodhisattva, which is the oh my god,
I've heard that before, yeah.
It's so brilliant.
It
Right,
gets 'em revved up.
and they opened all
right.
their shows with Bodhisattva, so it opens the album obviously.
It tears.
At
man.
least they get it out of the
I mean, I
way.
think I got used to that
Yeah.
live one too. So maybe
Mhm.
that's what I'm used to. That's
Right,
what
and
that's
the
what grabbed
guitar
me
solo shred,
back 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Steely Dan
absolutely.
was one of those bands that I heard on AM radio growing up. Right, Ricky, don't lose that number.
Right.
and-
AM Gold.
Right, AM
dude.
Gold, and
AM
it
Gold.
just stuck. Like a lot of those bands didn't stick. I didn't
Totally.
really, wasn't an Eagles fan
But-
past high school, like that sort of thing. But like Steely Dan stuck
But
with me.
the
because they're
dance-
Did you make it
deep.
that long?
I saw the reunion tour. I sat in the lawn at Alpine. Yeah,
The
I
$100
sat in the
tour?
lawn, saw Melissa Etheridge open for them.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, that was the good old
You give them something to
reunion,
talk about?
Yeah, the good old Eagles reunion. But Steely Dan's a fun live band too. I mean, got to see them at Ravinia once or twice.
Oh, that's right. They did
kinda
play
the-
Ravinia before Walter Becker
Yeah,
died,
those
right?
those beautiful nights on the lawn. I don't remember where else, but
Ravinia is an outdoor
Those-
venue.
Yeah.
Those would have
Kind
been,
of.
yeah, I would
Right?
have liked to see
right.
those.
I mean, just such a great. This is such a great album. I'm glad you picked this, Rob. I mean, 73 had
Absolutely.
a lot of good choices.
It was packed. I mean, we had some good
Yeah, we
choices.
really did.
But I like all four of our choices. Again, Jed, it was a freaking blast to sit and listen to Motörhead on my way home from work today.
It's one of those things you don't literally listen to like a full record of it too often.
Right.
You don't sit down and listen to a motor.
Yeah,
Like, and that's one of those
12 songs.
and it's like, you do get to that point where you're like, yeah, you guys play this. It's a very simple music, but
is.
everything has a very different. I don't know.
Whereas
Yeah.
the
A lot in the
dance
lyrics.
is a lot more complicated, but it's cool. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, Dan is where it's at. I mean, if you want to hear like the nexus of rock and jazz, I mean, man,
Totally.
I'd say they were it for about 8-10 years. Into the 80s, not to discount the early 80s with Gaucho.
Right.
Which is a pretty awesome album, in my opinion.
It's a good album.
Yeah. So I don't know. You got anything else to say about it, Rob?
Check it out. Countdown to Ecstasy. And I wanted to mention one more tune. Sorry. Showbiz Kids.
Yeah.
I missed it. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You missed
Sweet, I
it.
cannot.
I missed it.
On
No,
the
I
original
didn't.
Go Around? Like, wasn't it?
No, I didn't mention it. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. That was one of the
Showbiz Kid.
that was one of like the main ones, right? Like from this record, like that's what was played.
No.
I missed this record entirely, like
What do you
as
mean you missed
came
it?
out, obviously. But
Oh,
But wasn't
I
Showbiz
think we
Kids
all
like-
did.
No.
yeah,
not
wasn't
that I know
Showbiz Kids
of.
one of the?
I don't remember.
I
the
thought that was one of the main.
Boston
played on the
Rag.
radio.
Not so much.
No, Boston Rag's
My
out
Old
there.
School.
My old
King
school,
My old
was
school,
probably
yeah,
the
King of the
big-
World.
Bodhisattva,
right.
Yeah.
and King
Those
of the
were
World.
really the ones. And
Were the
Bodhisattva,
ones.
yeah.
Those were the ones that endured. Yeah, about
Yeah.
4 of them. So, Boston Rag being kind of a
Your gold
minor
teeth,
one,
not
but yeah,
really, but
still there.
sometimes maybe. But yeah,
That's a pretty damn good
it's
tune.
true. Like they're
too.
all, it's a good listen. It's solid.
I felt like, like I have their first album, and it's pretty kick ass. And this to me was solidifying more of the '70s Steely Dan style.
It was yes, you're right.
Like this is what we sound
Right.
like.
This is our sound.
Right, and they didn't shy away from it at all in this album. There's probably 4 or 5 songs which are that kind of Steely Dan sound,
For sure.
which have which the ones that don't have like injected energy into them, and what for.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great sound.
All right.
Well, guys,
You know what I'm gonna go do after this? I'm gonna go listen to Asia. I think
nice.
Oh yeah.
put some headphones on.
That's
Like
good.
my
So I just
bed.
want to say right now, the saxophone solo on the song Asia is Miles Davis' disciple Wayne Shorter.
Oh, no kidding.
and they had
That
to
is a
like
great-
invite him.
That is a great
They
album.
had like it's not like, hey, we'll pay you to come. It's like we humbly ask you to please play on our album.
That's pretty cool.
Wayne said yes, and they were just like, holy fucking shit, Wayne Shorter's coming to play.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
So I ended up seeing Wayne Shorter in Champaign one time, and it was purely incredible. And then I think I saw him at a bar afterwards too.
Wow.
I don't know. There were extenuating circumstances. So, in any case, I think that wraps it up for the Music Challenge podcast for this evening. Any last words, gentlemen?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
listening. Give us high ratings on all of the services.
Oh, yes.
Rate us. Show us
Yes,
love.
if you
We
are
love
still
you.
listening right now,
Please.
please show
If you
us
made it
love.
We said this at the wrong
please
time of
rate
the
us.
show.
We love you.
Subscribe, rate,
Give
review.
us 5-star
Give us
review.
5
Share,
stars.
do all the things that help small people. We're not even a business, but small people, like small people in the world that right now are important.
None of us are over 6 feet tall. I can guarantee you
For
that.
sure.
I just watched Wizard of Oz on Thanksgiving. So, yeah, I'm all about short people. Well, that will be edited out. So, pause. In any case, thanks for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Listening
Thank you
to
all.
the Music Challenge podcast.
Thanks for coming.
And we will see you next time. And goodbye.